let's talk about something that's going on all around us, especially online. There's this growing tension between men and women, and it seems like, well, nobody's happy about it. So today, we're going to dig into that. We're going to follow the data and try to understand what is really going on here.
You've seen this, right? On one side of the internet, you hear a lot of men, particularly young men, saying that the game is just rigged against them. And on the other side, you have women asking, seriously, where have all the good men gone? These two complaints feel like they come from completely different universes. They seem to totally contradict each other.
But what if they don't? What if both sides are actually right? What if these are just two different symptoms of the exact same problem? That's what this explainer is all about. We're going to try and find a single answer that connects both of these experiences. To solve this mystery, we really have to rewind the clock. We need to go back about 50 years to understand how the whole system we're living in got, well, completely rewired.
You know, it's fascinating. A bunch of well-intentioned changes accidentally created this perfect storm. It really kicks off in 1972 with Title IX, which was amazing. It opened up educational opportunities for women. But then through the 80s and 90s, the classroom environment itself started to change. It began to really reward traits where girls often have a natural advantage, like sitting still for long periods and following complex instructions. At the exact same time, what we used to call boyish energy started being treated like a disorder, which led to this massive spike in ADHD diagnoses for boys, all while their main outlet for that energy, recess, was being slashed.
So, after decades of retooling our education system, what happened? Well, the data's in, and honestly, the numbers are pretty staggering. I mean, just look at this. The numbers tell such a clear story. Back in 1970, colleges were about 59% male. Today, it's completely flipped. Women now make up 58% of college students. This isn't just a minor adjustment, it's a massive tectonic reversal of who's succeeding in the educational pipeline. And that educational gap leads to this really concerning figure. Today, 12% of young men are what economists call NEET. That's not in education, employment, or training. Think about that. They're basically disconnected from the core institutions that help you build a future. The one-size-fits-all path to success we've designed is leaving a huge chunk of young men totally behind. So this gap in education and economics, it doesn't just stay on campus or in the office. It spills over directly into our personal lives, and it creates what you could call the great mismatch in the modern dating world. Now, to get this, we have to talk about a word that can be kind of controversial: hypergamy. But all it really means is the well-documented human tendency, and this is for both men and women, to look for a partner who has an equal or higher socioeconomic status. It's not about being greedy, it's just this deep-seated drive for security and a stable future. And this is where the math starts to get really brutal. So women are more educated and more successful than ever before, which is fantastic. But if people are generally looking for an equal or better partner, the pool of men who meet that criteria is shrinking fast. This isn't about anyone being too picky, it's a structural numbers game. There's literally a shortage of what many women would traditionally see as eligible partners. And the data just shows how much things have already changed on the ground. Today, in the US, 41% of wives out-earn their husbands. That number is wild when you think that back in 1980, it was only 16%. We're talking about a fundamental revolution in the family unit in just one generation. So why does this cause so much friction? It's not because women don't want to be successful. The real problem is that our culture hasn't kept up. Our social scripts, those unwritten rules about who does what, and even things like our tax policies, they often end up penalizing women for being the main breadwinner. It just creates this enormous unspoken stress inside a relationship. Okay, so all of these mismatches in school, in the economy, in the home, they're taking a massive emotional toll on everybody. Even though we've made all this progress on paper, our actual happiness, our well-being, it's in a free fall. This chart is it's heartbreaking. Since the early 70s, the number of women who say they're very happy has been going down and down and down. And for young men, the drop is even steeper. The conclusion here is pretty unavoidable. The system we've built isn't working for men, and it isn't working for women either. Everybody is losing. So you can see how this becomes a vicious cycle, right? A self-reinforcing feedback loop. It starts in school, which leads to more boys disengaging. That leads to lower status for many of them as adults. Then, in the dating market, hypergamy kicks in, and more men feel overlooked.
That frustration can fuel some of the anger we see online, which, understandably, makes women more cautious and isolated. And the whole cycle just spirals. Okay, I know that sounds pretty bleak, but here is the good news. Because this is a systemic problem, it means we can actually fix it with systemic solutions. This isn't about blaming men or blaming women. It's about redesigning a broken system so it works for everyone. So what do we do? Well, the evidence points to a few big levers we can pull. First, we need to create and respect more paths to success besides a four-year college degree. Think vocational schools and apprenticeships. Second, we need to tweak the school environment itself to be more boy-friendly, with things like more recess. And third, we have to update our social policies, like parental leave, so they actually reflect the reality of modern families. And if you want a perfect, real-world example of this, just look at Iceland's parental leave policy. In the US, our system is a mess that basically assumes mom is the primary caregiver. But in Iceland, they created a use-it-or-lose-it 50-50 leave for both parents. The result? 90% of dads take it. It's just normal now. Smart policy design can literally change a culture. And that really gets to the heart of it. Nobody did this on purpose. Nobody was trying to create this mess. We just, with the best of intentions, we optimized the entire system for one particular set of strengths, and we called that equality. But it wasn't. It was just a different kind of imbalance. And so that leaves us with a final, really big question to think about. Maybe real equality isn't about making sure everyone walks the exact same path. Maybe, just maybe, it's about building and valuing two different but equally respected paths to a successful life. A path that works for men and a path that works for women, so that both can finally thrive together.